Okay, Noah.
Okay,
So
Ann.
here's the question.
Yes?
How do you bring your whole self to your whole life? And I'm going to leave the question there for the moment.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, first of all, it's great to be with you, and it's been fun too, being behind the scenes of this conversation. Being the cameraman, where my mom Miriam has been interviewing other people, and watching your and her interview um, just now kind of got me to bring a new part of myself to life, where I was like, hey, well, if they just had the conversation, why can't we have the conversation?
What is it that brought you to that second where you said, hey, why can't we?
Well, I think part of the way I think about bringing my whole self to my whole life is creating community.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like a little aspect of creating community among the three of us, where
Yes.
she interviews you and you interview me, and then God, I could interview her, I could interview both of you, and so
You can have her sitting right here.
Yeah. So there's an experience of let's have as many people engage in the conversation.
Yes.
And just that practice, for me, whether it's in larger community or smaller community, group dynamic, that experience, that process, that practice helps me bring my whole self to my whole life. And as you guys were talking, one of the things that I was thinking about, I spend a lot of time thinking about and talking about who are we grateful for. And
beautiful.
The other thing that I realized after listening to your interview was what does bringing our whole selves and our whole life look like in the practice of real life. And I think what it looks like is us being resourceful, kind of finding the resources that we need to create what we want in our lives more easily. And I think one of the best tools for doing that is gratitude, because being grateful and asking, who are you grateful for? What are you grateful for? Well, let's say I said, oh, so I'm grateful for you. Let's just do that as an example. And then I realized...
The minute you say that, I go, oh,
yeah,
sweet.
Yeah, there's like an openness, there's a sweetness.
Yeah.
But besides that nice kind of emotional experience, what it gets my mind thinking is, oh, so what resources does Anne have that would help me kind of bring a conversation? I'm very passionate about how does being grateful benefit our health, our ability to enjoy life, our ability to sleep better, boost our immune system, increase our social happiness with people and with ourselves. So then I think to myself, God, I wonder what she might know about that. And so when I think, okay, I'm grateful for Anne, what does she know about this conversation, bringing your whole self to your whole life?
Well, you see, the minute you say that, I'm grateful for you, I feel this opening here, and already there's an expansion. And one of the things I'm aware of sitting here next to you is I'm grateful for your size. Your size makes me want to be bigger.
Oh, like physically, energetically.
It gives me permission to just say, take up more space.
Yeah.
And there's a power to that. And there's an aliveness to it. So now it's not answering. What was your question about gratefulness?
Oh, just
what do I know about?
Just no, I mean, you're welcome to answer it now, but it was more like just thinking about, when I think about bringing my whole self to my whole life, I think about being a leader and engaging people in the conversations that most inspire me.
Yes.
Because I believe that what inspires me can inspire other people.
Absolutely.
I think there's a fundamental human experience of being inspired.
Absolutely.
That is shared among all of this. And
it's universal.
Yeah, and we become known for the conversations that we lead and have in our community. So one example is, I guess, part of me learns to do this by realizing, well, what are the conversations that I'm having that are not inspiring? And this is actually an access to bringing my whole self to my whole life. One of the conversations I had been having for many weeks and months while I've been dealing with a lot of stressful family situations is, I'm so tired. Oh, I'm so tired. And it's like, well, what are you tired of? There's lots of things that, you could be tired of with, having lots of different challenging circumstances in your life. But when I started realizing that I was saying that out loud.
So that wasn't just an interior conversation.
Well,
that was
the thing that I wonder is, was it interior experience because I was talking about it and then reinforcing it?
Very good
or
question.
was it an external experience that I was talking about and then it was creating like an internal experience? Regardless, I did this exercise in my, I was taking a class this past weekend called the Wisdom Course down at Landmark, and they did this exercise. It's so simple, but it changed the way I look at life. They said, how happy are you willing to be for the next 8 weeks between now and our next workshop? And so, and there was this little chart, right? And it said, reasonably happy, somewhat happy, really good, most of the time, right? It was like a 0 to 10.
Okay.
And then at the top it said off the charts. So I'll give you an example of this. Ask me how I am.
Well, how are you right now?
I am off the charts.
Ooh!
I'm off the charts. And so I've been having people ask me, and I've been asking people, how are they? Because exploring how we speak about our experience of life.
And you asked me that just an hour ago.
Yeah. But what it does is it helps me bring my whole self to the whole of my life.
But let me ask you...
how can I speak about how I bring myself to life?
Okay. I want to ask you just an exploratory question.
Yeah.
You did say you were tired.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with being tired, right?
Nothing wrong with being tired.
So what do you... How does the reality of that factor into what you're saying?
Well, having the willingness to be like, oh, I need some rest. Like, what do I actually say in a productive way about what I can do about it? You know, one of the things that I learned from a teacher of mine was when you have the experience of being tired, well, the commitment that I have in my life, and not everybody shares this commitment, or not everybody necessarily has the flexibility in their lifestyle to really implement this, but it's still an important conversation worth having, is how can we support each other in being well rested? As a health coach, being well rested is extremely important because they've done so many sleep studies now. And people are crazy about getting enough sleep in our busy American society. You see sleep stores springing up everywhere. The mattresses are supposed to solve our sleep problems, which sometimes for people they do. Sleeping pills are on the rise, all sorts of things. But how can we support each other in being well rested? That's another conversation that actually, like in the moment of asking it, makes me think, okay, what resources do I have to take care of myself in the moment? Like if I don't feel like I have enough rest. What social support do I need to get to bed earlier tonight? You know?
And I'm also thinking, as I'm listening to you, I'm taking a rest right. You're saying that suggested that I take a rest right in that moment. And I think you can get a lot of rest in 3 seconds if that's your intention.
Well, and one of the things that I've been doing to take care of myself is between meetings. You know how sometimes there's like a little wiggle room between meetings? You know, sometimes you get up to a place earlier. I've actually been lying down in the car, like I'll recline the seat for 5 minutes.
Beautiful.
And with the intention of being well rested for the next thing I'm going to do. So I don't try and be like, oh my God, how am I going to have energy to get through this whole day? I think, oh, okay, what can I do just to have energy for the next thing that I'm expected to be present for?
So you're present all the way as you go. And you take little moments where they present themselves.
Like creating rest as I go. And, you know, some people go into the bathroom and they say a prayer to themselves, or they, you know, meditate for a few minutes. Some people drink a lot of coffee, which I used to do. Finally was able to kick my coffee with some of these strategies plus nutritional strategies that I've implemented. But it's like, I think bringing our whole selves to the whole of our life really gets at what does it take to be present in the moment. Especially when we notice ourselves not being present, because more often than not, I think we notice ourselves not being present if we actually pay attention than we are actually being present. But it's an access point to creating this. This whole thing about whole selves, whole lives is this created phenomenon. It's a creation, not a permanent context. So the context requires... It's an ongoing creation.
No, I agree completely. And... It has it accelerates. It has a, what's the word?
Oh, it's like a snowball effect almost, where it builds on each other.
once you get going with it, it keeps going. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I can't
no, but like once I'm like, oh, okay, I can bring my whole self to the whole of my life in this moment. Then I see other moments that I can do that.
Yeah. So what would it be like to do that all the time?
To be like a constant like kind of inquiry that I live my life in.
Yeah.
I think that it would be exciting. I think it would require me being passionate about not like being in charge of my life necessarily all the time, but there's an element of that, like the experience of being in charge, kind of being tuned in, like what's my experience in the present moment, so that I can be like, oh, am I bringing my whole self, or am I asleep at the wheel, like you were talking about in the last interview. I think the question...
What about not having to think about that?
But the question...
Okay.
No. It's like, you're right, like you wouldn't even be thinking about it. You just be in life, bringing your whole self to your whole life, and you don't even have to think about it.
Right.
It would just be engaged in giving yourself to life. Yeah.
Yeah. We like that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
This was a great interview.